Our host for this morning is Brittany Packnett. Brittany has been our guest at IC before and is a rising star in a wide array of social movements and organizing networks. Cited by President Barack Obama as a leader whose voice is going to be making a difference for years to come, Brittany is an unapologetic educator, organizer, writer, and speaker. Brittany serves as Teach for America's Vice President of National Community Alliances, where she leads partnerships and civil rights work with communities of color. A former fellow at Harvard's Institute of Politics, she was a protester at Ferguson, a co-founder of Campaign Zero, a policy platform to end police violence, and is a contributor to the Crooked Media Network, most notably contributing to the weekly news on Pod Save the People and regularly touring with Pod Save America, which averages about 1.5 million listeners per episode. Having been our special guest at International Convention once before, please join me in welcoming Brittany Packnett to IC.
How you doing, BBYO? I don't believe you. I said, how you doing? I am so thrilled to be back with you all again. My name is Brittany Packnett, as he said. Some of you may know me on social media as Ms. Packyetti. But I'm here, and I'm glad to be here because I'm always glad to be around people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired. Is that you? Because that is most certainly me. You know, no matter what is happening out there in the world, and it is a very trying time right now, I have hope when I come into rooms like this. I know that no matter what tragedy befalls us at Tree of Life in Pittsburgh, or at Mother Emanuel in Charleston, or at a mosque in Texas, no matter what befalls us, that we have the strength and the tenacity and the power to fight back against hate. But here's what I also know about young people. I know that you all are tired of waiting on generations before you to get it right. You are tired of waiting on generations to get racism right, to get homophobia right, to get transphobia right, to get anti-Semitism right, to get Islamophobia right, to get ableism right. You all are tired of generations not taking any action on gun control, not taking any action on ableism, not taking any action on climate change so that we all have a healthy world to live in. And I am so glad that you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, because now is the time for justice. So if it is your first day working on issues of justice and freedom and activism, or if it's your 100th day, I don't care how you got woke. I only care that you stay woke. And here to help me talk about exactly how we get woke and stay woke until the work is done, we've got a fantastic panel for you. Let's give them a round of applause as they join us on stage. I am so excited for you all to hear from this panel. We've only got a few minutes, but I know you all have so much wisdom to share with us. So sitting directly to my right is a guy who I'm friends with. He forced me to be his friend, but I'm glad that he did. His name is Sam White. Sam is a social media influencer. You can find him at Sam Whiteout on Twitter and Instagram. And he's an activist and is helping influence other people with privilege to actually spend their privilege for the work of a better world. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you for having me.
Next to Sam, we've got Samantha Fuentes. Samantha was among those injured in the Parkland shooting tragedy in 2018. And while she's fortunate to be alive, her body and her life have changed forever. But we are grateful to you, Samantha, for being here, especially this week, following the anniversary of Parkland. And we're grateful for your commitment to the following mission. You are here to make sure that no child or adult is devastated by senseless and preventable gun violence ever again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here, Samantha. Next to Samantha is Robert Roseman, one of your brothers at BBYO. He's a senior at Parish Episcopal School in Dallas, Texas, and for the past 2 years, among all the other amazing work he's been doing, he's been planning and facilitating workshops around North Texas, assisting undocumented immigrants. Thank you for the work that you do. Next to Robert is Kai Feldman, and she is the first openly lesbian commissioner at the EEOC, was a law professor at Georgetown Law, and get this, we've got a history maker among us. She was the lead drafter and negotiator of both the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Employment Non-Discrimination Act. So we owe a great deal to you, Kai. Thank you for being here. And last but not least, a dear friend and warrior, Shannon Watts. Shannon was actually a stay-at-home mother of 5 when the Sandy Hook shooting occurred, and she decided that she was sick and tired of being sick and tired, and founded Moms Demand Action, and works with Everytown for Gun Safety, which is the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country. Thank you for being here, Shannon. So I've got 3 questions, and we've got limited time, so I want Sam and Robert to answer this first question. How did you get woke? A lot of us think that we're supposed to be born woke, that we're supposed to know everything, that we're supposed to have all the right language, all the right intentions, do all the right work from the very beginning. But no one is born woke. Something wakes you up. So what woke each of you up?
So for me, I grew up in a house where I felt like we talked about everything. But I didn't become formally involved. I didn't make this a part of my everyday life until I got to a college that told me I was not good enough. I didn't wake up in that way until I was confronted with the kind of bigotry that was intensely personal, that made it difficult to wake up every day. And it was at that moment that I was able to say, what do I need to do? And how can I leave this place better than when I found it? And if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that it's like what Brittany said. This is not a moment, this is a process. And so I'm still on that process, and I want to bring as many people with me as possible.
Thanks, Sam. Robert?
I think that for myself, I come from a long history of people who are very involved in social justice and doing a lot of social justice work, and so it's basically in my DNA. But for me, again, as Brittany was saying, 2 years ago, I was approached to work on this campaign to help undocumented immigrants, their children, who, if the undocumented immigrants are deported, their children would be given to CPS, and so we fill out legal documents so that they can be given to a family member or a friend, or in some cases a teacher. And so seeing these immigrants who have come here looking for a new life and have been basically like the children, a whole generation of children can be like devastated and traumatized by being taken away, it really hurts me to the core, and so influences me to really work to make change and to impact the future.
Powerful. Thank you so much. That's especially important because we heard 2 different kinds of stories. One where Sam was personally impacted, and one where Robert actually is not part of the impacted community but recognizes just how important this work is. And either one of those moments can wake us up. So Samantha and Kai, I would like to know exactly how we stay woke. You all have been doing this work for a while now. Samantha, I want to start with you because it feels like we have a very short attention span, and people were really empowered around gun violence issues and gun violence prevention after Parkland. And how have you stayed committed even when other people have started to fall away and moved on to something else?
That's an excellent question. I find, especially when it comes to the conversation of gun violence, like every tragedy is just a headline, every person is just another statistic, and every act of violence is just another number. And in order to get away from that, you got to keep that conversation still happening and still effective conversation. So the ways you can do that, the first way you can do that is you can network. A lot of us on the stage have platforms such as Twitter and Instagram, keeping the dialogue alive, especially on the internet where we have such short attention spans, and that's where we spend most of our time. It's such a great place to get people informed and educated on how they can get involved. Another way to do that is to collaborate with other pre-existing organizations. So you have March for Our Lives, you have Everytown, you have Moms Demand Action, you have all these organizations that have existed prior to when my shooting happened and when I decided to take part. So these organizations, like if you're not sure like how to get involved or like how to start your own organization, these people, there's hundreds and hundreds of people who support your cause and are definitely out there to help you out. And third, just have a good support system, have a good amount of people who support what you do and feel that what you do is good and moral for your life, and make sure that that support system will always be there for you, because without that, like, being an activist can be very, very isolating.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
making sure you have the right people around you will make a huge difference when it comes to your level of confidence and motivation, because it is very hard to feel like you have that power when you don't have that that uplifting element.
Yes.
So that's how I keep myself awoke, per
Well,
se.
we appreciate you.
No problem.
And we know that you are staying woke, and we are following your lead. Kai, I know you have some wisdom for us, because not only have you been doing this for a while, you have really significant and important wins, right? The fact that there are wheelchair ramps in buildings across America and elevators is due in large part to your leadership. And so help us figure out how we get to those wins and how we stay woke throughout the process.
Yeah, well, first, find your passion and follow it. That's going to help you get up every morning. Right? I've spent 30
Absolutely.
years trying to protect LGBT people. As a lesbian, that's personal, but really it comes from Tikkun Olam for me, making the world better.
Yeah.
I spent time helping to write the ADA. As someone with the hidden disability of anxiety disorder and depression, that was important, but it was part of Tikkun Olam. Find your passion. Think right now. Take 10 seconds and think, what is my particular passion within Tikkun Olam? Second, very practical. Be open, respectful, and curious. Be open. Don't assume you know all the answers. Be respectful. Don't assume that someone that disagrees with you is the devil. And most important, be curious. When someone says something that you disagree with, your first response should not be, you're wrong and here's why. Your first response should be, why do you think that?
Yeah.
Why do you see the facts in that way?
Nice.
I cannot tell you how much you will learn and how effective you will be by being curious. And third, don't worry about making mistakes and be persistent. I used to write my journal in notebooks with covers, you know, with this thing called a pen. And one of the covers that I loved said, show me someone who hasn't made a mistake, and I'll show you someone who hasn't made anything. Don't worry about making mistakes. If you're not making mistakes, you're probably not making anything.
Awesome. Thank you.
And finally, the other cover I loved, the person who says it's impossible should get out of the way of the person doing it.
Yes.
When people said, how could you get that bill passed? I said, why not? When people said, how could you get LGBT people covered under existing sex discrimination law? I said, why not? Each and every one of you, as teens and adults, I believe will get up every morning and say, why not fix this? Whatever this is, whatever your passion, you will stay woke. I promise you.
Awesome. Some good advice, huh? So Shannon, you're gonna take us home. And I think this question is really relevant for you because, Samantha, as you know, a lot of people pay attention to issues of gun violence when there is a mass shooting. But the truth is that gun violence happens every single day in America, in communities that we belong to and communities that are all the way across town. So why do you show up for the issues that don't necessarily affect you, but you know it's important to be there anyway?
So when I started Moms Demand Action, it was the day after the Sandy Hook shooting. And that impacted me as the mom of 5. But honestly, in retrospect, I was living in a bubble. I didn't realize that over 100 Americans are shot and killed in this country every day. Gun suicides, mainly in rural communities. Gun homicides in the urban core, in marginalized communities. We have to care about every American. We have to care about every single death. And what I have learned over the last 6 years is that this work, it starts in your communities, it starts in state houses, eventually it goes to Congress, and you have to show up. You know, I started this work thinking, oh, my state lawmaker wants to hear from me. Not necessarily. That is not necessarily true. And so in addition to the activism, also I want all of you out there to think about running for office.
Yes.
I don't care if it's city council, school board, sheriff, state house. It doesn't have to be Congress. Because activism is unglamorous heavy lifting. And be ready for that. It is a marathon and not a sprint. It is a lifelong journey that it may not end in your lifetime, but you cannot give up the work.
Yes. So I want to close by asking each of you to give me one word that you want our BBYO teens to remember as they move forward in the work of justice and activism. Just one word. Sam, we'll start with you.
What a question. I'm going to go with hope, because hope is not waiting, hope is working.
Yes, absolutely. Hope is not waiting, hope is working. Samantha?
I'm going to say intergenerational, because it's never too late or too early to fight for a cause you believe in.
Yes, it is always the time to do what's right. Robert?
I'm going to say experience. Make yourself uncomfortable and put yourself in positions that you can make change.
Awesome.
I'm going to say persistence, because it is a marathon, not a sprint.
That's right.
And I'm going to say fight, because you can turn your hopelessness and your fear into anger to create real change. Always stay in the fight.
Awesome. Can we thank our incredible panel for all of this wisdom and brilliance? I want you to remember as you go to do whatever is next, that it doesn't matter when you got woke. I just care that you stay woke. And remember, none of us are free until we're all free. Thank you so much. Have a great day.